Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a moment to come nice and present and sitting up nice and tall on your cushion or blanket so that the back of your spine and the back of your neck are nice and long, opening up your chest and opening up your diaphragm and opening up your heart. You would gently close your eyes and soften your thoughts. Soften your eyes, soften your shoulders, and soften your heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is the fourth Niyama. And reminder, the Niyamas are the guidelines of how you interact with the world. So the fourth Niyama is Svadhyaya. Sorry. Sva means oneself and yaya means lesson. So Svadhyaya. I was fine when I was practicing it before. It's about self-study and self-awareness, where you're stepping into the role of the observer without judgment. Christine Malassi from Yoga U states that your asana practice, your poses, offer the perfect opportunity to explore Svadhyaya. There we go. To create each asana, each pose, you must move and place the various parts of your body. You could do this without any real engagement or awareness, going through the motions while your mind is a million miles away. Or you could work towards staying present with each and every movement as it arises. You could notice how the body responds to being aligned in a certain way. Observe physical sensations. Watch how your mind reacts to what you're doing with your body. Experience any emotions that show up. And listen to the ebb and flow of your breath. In a nutshell, what Christine is saying is Svadhyaya is the difference between playing Simon Says and truly practicing yoga. So the pranayama that I'd like to have us do today, and it refers back to what Christine said about listening to the ebb and flow of your breath. The Ujjayi breath is a breath that is really specific for yoga. There's other breathing techniques, other pranayamas that help with other things like anxiety and sleep and just general health. But the Ujjayi breath is a soundtrack to your yoga practice. It's actually an audible breathing technique that helps you synchronize your breath to your movements. And that sound that you make should always be steady and strong. So the Ujjayi breath is two parts. The inhale is kind of like a Darth Vader. It emanates through the back of your throat, almost even like a soft snoring sound. It's like, and then the exhale is like you're trying to fog up a mirror. So you can hear it in the back of your throat mostly. And that sound it makes is, there's another term for this breath. It's called ocean breath. And it's that sound that you can hear in a seashell when you hold it up to your ear. So the Ujjayi breath is also known as ocean breath. So we'll be visiting that breath during today's practice a lot. And whenever you're doing yoga, it is a great breath to just check in with, especially with this lesson today of self-study and self-awareness. It's always a wonderful technique to use while you're doing your yoga practice. So for our meditation this morning, I'd like to talk about mindful meditation. Mindful meditation is a type of meditation where you focus on being intensely aware of what you're sensing and feeling at the moment without interpretation or judgment. Again, it fits right in with Svadhyaya. So when we're taking a moment to meditate, just kind of tune into our three parts: our body, our mind, our spirit. See if your body is comfortable or uncomfortable. Maybe you can tweak it a little bit to make it more comfortable. See if your mind is wandering or fairly still. Meditation is about trying to still yourself and become self-aware. So if you find yourself with your mind wandering, like everyone does all the time, and in meditation, it's not a no-no. It's just something that you try to get a handle on and bring back to a stillness. And that stillness, you can focus on your breath and your body, your inhales and your exhales. And then your spirit, you can kind of check in with your spirit. Are you happy? Are you sad? What emotions are you experiencing while you are sitting there in your mindful meditation? So let's just take a few moments to do that. Again, pick body, mind, spirit, or maybe a combination of those, and just without interpreting what your mind's doing, for example, just kind of bring it back, focus on your breath, and don't judge yourself at all in any of this. So let's take a moment and do that. Okay, open your eyes now and we'll start our asana practice. In a nice, comfortable seated position where your spine and back of your neck's nice and tall. We're just gonna relax and roll our shoulders, just loosen up our shoulders. And do clockwise and counterclockwise. And again, it's just to relax any tension that you may have, which is typically stored up in here, up in your upper chest and shoulders, neck. And maybe be self-aware of where your tension is stored most often. Remember when I started to do yoga and we went into Shavasana, and my teacher would give us a cue to relax. And here I am in Shavasana thinking I'm relaxed. And then she's like, relax more. And I'm like, what? I am relaxed. But all of a sudden I realized my shoulders were like off the mat, tense. And I tried relaxing more and they just dropped down. And then she said it again. And I'm realizing, oh my God, I'm still tense. And it took such a long time to realize how much tension I hold up in my upper body and in my arms. And oftentimes I'd be walking with my fists so that all that tension would build up in this upper area. So just to relax, not to wind myself up more, but to relax and to do some shoulder shrugs. So let's then go to our sun breaths and chest openers. So we're going to bring our fingertips to the sides and inhale deeply using that Ujjayi breath. So you can hear your sound. Inhale. That Darth Vader sound. And then we're going to bring our hands together and then exhale as we lower our hands to heart center. Ujjayi breath, sounding like we're fogging up a mirror. And then inhale again, opening up our arms, opening up our chest, opening up our heart. And then exhale, closing our hands back together. Inhale using the Ujjayi breath. And then exhale, again, Ujjayi breath. Just get in the practice of hearing that sound today. So inhale. Exhale, bringing our hands down to heart center. Inhale, opening up our arms. And exhale, closing. Inhale up. And exhale down. We'll do that one more time. So inhale, Ujjayi breath up. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Inhale up. And exhale down. We'll bring our right hand to our left kneecap and bring our left hand right behind our hips on the mat and twist our torso to the left. And take a couple of deep breaths here. And then come back to center, and we'll do that on the other side. So left hand to right knee, right hand behind our hips. Send our gaze forward and take a couple of deep breaths. Using that Ujjayi sound. And coming back to center, we're going to roll down on our backs. You can roll down either with your knees bent and slowly, one vertebrae at a time, or legs straight out, or express method, just kind of tuck your hands under your knees and roll back. I'm going to use the extended leg version. Come down. And then I'll bring my knees to chest, give them a nice hug. I'm going to wrap our and interlace our fingers and wrap them around our left knee, and we'll extend our right foot out. And you can have it hover like maybe 6 inches above the mat or rest it on the mat, your preference. And we'll just do some ankle movements. So we take our toes and move them clockwise, make a nice circle. And then counterclockwise. And then bring our right leg back, give both knees a nice hug, and then wrap our interlaced fingers around the right knee, extending the left leg out, and they can hover around 6 inches. Knee roller, or you can rest it on the mat, your preference. And then we'll draw circles clockwise for a bit. And then counterclockwise. And then bring your left leg back, knees over chest, and give them a nice hug. Now we're going to put both hands on kneecaps, and we're going to extend our arms fully away from our chest. And then we're going to open our knees to each side, bringing the soles of our feet together. And then draw our knees back toward our shoulders. And then close the knees over our chest. So we do a few rowboats here. So again, extending your arms fully, sending your knees away from you, and then opening the knees to each side, bringing the soles of your feet together, and then drawing the knees back toward your shoulders, and then closing the knees over your chest. And one more time, extending your arms out, opening your knees wide to each side, soles of your feet kissing one another, and drawing your knees toward your shoulders, and then closing your knees over your chest. We put our left foot down on the mat, and then cross our right leg over it, so the ankle is on, your right ankle is on your left leg just below the knee. Recline pigeon. The right knee you can guide with your hand so that it's pointing toward the right side of your mat. And then we're going to lift our left leg up, flexing both toes up toward the sky, interlacing our fingers behind our left thigh, and gently guide that left leg toward your chest. Great hip opener. And just maybe use your Ujjayi breath and and send some nourishing breaths to any tension you may feel. And you can also use it, as we will going forward, as a guide to whether you should back off this pose. Maybe you pull your left leg a little too close to your chest, and your Ujjayi breath isn't strong and steady any longer. So just kind of back off a little bit. Then we'll put our left foot on the mat, keeping our right foot on our left leg. We're going to slide the left foot all the way down, and then take our right knee and guide it over to the left side of the mat with our left hand. We can have our right arm in a goalpost. Both shoulders are nice and snug on the mat. And then lift our right knee back up toward the sky. Bring both knees back to your chest. Give them a nice hug, and we'll do that on the other side. So we're going to take our right leg and put the right foot on the mat, placing the left ankle on the right thigh just below the knee. Guide our left knee toward the left of the mat. And then interlacing our fingers behind our right thigh will guide our right leg toward our chest. And again, with your Ujjayi breath, just gauge to where it should be and use it to send any nourishing breaths to any tension you may feel. And then we'll place our right foot on the mat, slide our right foot down toward the end of the mat, keeping our left foot on our leg, and then guiding our left knee to the right side of the mat with our right hand. And the left arm goes up in goalposts. So both shoulders are nice, shoulder blades are nice and snug in the mat. And then we'll bring both knees back to our chest. One last hug. And then we'll roll up. So you can roll up by tucking your hands underneath your knees, or you can lean over to the one side or the other, your favorite side, and make your way back up. We're going to come up onto our hands and knees. So those of us who are rolling up, we can cross our legs and come over our legs and come into tabletop on our hands and knees. So at tabletop, our fingers are spread nice and wide, gripping the mat. Wrists are right below the shoulders. Weight is evenly distributed through your hands. Just be aware of how you are with this pose. Now, is your shoulders kind of slumping so that you don't have that space between your shoulders and your ears? You're gently pushing down into your hands, if that makes a difference. Creating that space in your body. And then with your knees right below your hips, tops of your feet either on the mat or toes tucked under, whatever works best for you. And navel tucked to the spine to create a nice flat back. And then we'll do some head turns. So we're going to turn our head to the right as if we're saying, in a no fashion, yes and no, this being the no part of it. We'll turn our head to the right, sending our gaze straight out ahead, and then bringing it back to center, and then inhaling it over to the left, and then exhale back to center. See if you can employ your Ujjayi breath here. Inhale to the right, and exhale to center. Inhale to the left, and exhale back to center. One more time to the right. Inhale. Exhale back to center. And one last time to the left. And back to center. And we'll do some cat-cows, and this is where we usually really tune into our breath, synchronizing our breath to our movement. So let's do that and really be aware of how our body is when we're doing these cat-cows. So dropping our head and tailbone down, rounding the back. And then inhaling, lifting our head and tailbone up. Exhale, back to cat, rounding the back, dropping the head and tailbone down. Inhale, lifting our head and tailbone up. And exhale, rounding the back, tailbone and head go down. And just continue at your own pace. And just have that awareness of what pace really works well for you. Is the pace I go way too slow for you? Or is it a comfortable pace? And experiment with what works best. Maybe reversing the breath works best for you. So that you exhale, coming into cow, and inhale, coming into cat. Okay, we'll come back to tabletop. We'll bring our knees together so that they're touching. And again, check in with your hands. Have your hands pushing down into the mat. We'll send our right leg up into the air. And just check in with your hips so that you're not kind of opening your hips to the side. Have your hips so that they are pointing down toward the mat. And we're going to just drop our toes to the mat and lift our toes up and point them, and then flex them and drop them back to the mat. So we're only going to do our leg this week. So inhaling up with your toes flexed, and then point, and then flex, and then drop them back down again. We'll do that a couple more times. Up, point, flex, down, up, point, flex, down, up, point, flex, down. One last time. Up, point, flex, down. We'll bring that knee back under our hips, and we'll extend our left leg out. We do the same thing with our toes pointed Then we'll flex and drop our foot back down. So toes flexed against the mat. Up, point, flex, down, up, point, flex, down, up, point, flex, down, up, point, flex, down, up, point, flex, down. Bring both knees back together again. And we'll walk our hands back, tucking our toes under. We'll come into squat position on the balls of our feet and then push down, coming up into mountain pose. Let's just take a moment, get grounded. So we'll have our big toes pointing to the straight edge of the mat. And then lifting our toes up off the mat, spreading them as far apart as we can. And then bringing them back down to the mat, lifting our heels up off the mat. And then coming back down. So feeling that grounding that mountain pose has, that stability and security. I was kind of laughing at myself yesterday when I was practicing this. It never occurred to me before, but self-awareness. So if you're in mountain pose, there's a mountain, and visualize yourself as a mountain. So you're stable, you're secure, you're solid. But then I thought, the idea just popped in my head. I said, well, volcanoes have that same appearance of a mountain, and yet there's all this stuff stirring inside. It's not stable, it's not secure, it could explode at any moment. So it's a part of being self-aware is like, are you a mountain today, or are you a volcano where there's things going, simmering inside of you? So hopefully being in mountain pose will help you return to that calming stability feeling. So our legs are nice and strong in mountain pose, soft, gentle bend in our knees, navel's tucked to our spine, shoulders are relaxed and rolled back, spine is nice and straight and tall, chin is slightly tucked in, crown of our head is reaching up toward the sky, and then we'll sweep our hands up overhead. Big inhale, Ujjayi breath, and exhale, bringing our hands down to the mat as we bend our knees, protecting our lower back. And then we'll bring our hands to our shins, half forward fold, nice straight back, nice straight spine. Looking down so we can extend that nice length to our back of our neck. And then dropping the crown of our head down toward the mat. Just let gravity take over here for a moment. See if you can have your Ujjayi breath be nice and strong and steady in this pose. Then sweeping your hands all the way up. We're going to bring them up overhead, and as we bring them up, we're going to come up onto our tippy toes. Hands come together. We're up on our tippy toes. And then slowly lower our hands as we slowly lower our heels to the mat. And then sweeping our hands again. Big inhale up. Coming up onto our tippy toes as our hands come up. And then big Ujjayi exhale. Hands come down, heels come down. And one last time, sweeping our hands up, big Ujjayi breath. And then exhale, come down. We'll keep sending our hands all the way down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. And bringing our hands to our shins, half forward fold, nice straight back. And dropping the crown of our head down toward the mat. And sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. And we'll do some supported side stretches. So you bring our right arm down, slide it down toward our right knee, making a nice crescent shape with the upper body. Then inhale, bringing our hand back up, hands together overhead, and dropping the left hand down to the left thigh, sliding it down toward the left knee. Nice crescent shape to the left. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, hand comes down to the right, sliding it down toward our knee. And then inhale, back up. And left hand comes down. Sliding our hand down toward our knee. Nice crescent shape. And that, if you were doing your Ujjayi breath, you probably feel it nice and shallow right there. Bringing your hands back up overhead, and we'll send them back down to the mat. Hands to your shins, nice flat back. Crown of your head comes down toward the mat. And inhale, sweeping your hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center. And I'm just going to turn for this next pose and do some leg lifts and extend them in back of me. So I'm going to, when I extend them in back of me, I'm going to, and it's your choice too, see what works best for you. Either land on the ball of your foot, so it's kind of a high lunge, or you can pivot your foot so that you land on your foot and your heel at an angle, so it's more of a warrior one pose. So hands together, heart center. We're going to lift our right leg up and having our hips nice and straight and strong, facing to the front of the mat. And then we're going to send our right leg back. And again, you can land on the ball of your foot or pivot your foot so that you're landing on the entire foot at an angle, whichever works best for you. And then we'll bring it back to center. We'll do that with the other side. Lifting the left leg up, sending it in back of us, and just carefully landing it behind us. And then bringing it back to center. We'll do that one more time on each side. Lifting our right leg up and sending it back and landing it on the mat. And then bringing it back to center, lifting the left leg up and sending that back and landing it. And bring it back to center. Sweep our hands up overhead. Exhale, coming all the way down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Inhale up, half forward fold. And then exhale, dropping the crown of the head down to the mat. Big Ujjayi exhale. And sweeping the hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center. And then palms come to the back of our hips. Fingertips pointing down. Feet hip width apart. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Tucking our chin toward our chest, we're just going to relax our shoulders and let them roll back for a supported back bend. Again, this is where we like to hear that Ujjayi breath. See how far into this bend we should go. We're striving for a nice, strong, steady breath. So if that's not happening, then you just adjust your pose to bring that forward. And then come back up. It's a wonderful quote that I've said over the years. It's from Aristotle. And he said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. So you are yourself. And when we go through the rest of our poses as we do each week, our poses are to make us more flexible, strong, work on our balance. And that's going to actually look different for each of us. So if you're not looking like me and I'm not looking like you, it's wonderful. You have to know yourself and know what your body's capable of doing. So let's start with our rest of our routine. We'll sweep our hands up overhead. Exhaling, bringing them down to the mat. We're going to send our right leg back, coming into runner's pose, and then send that right knee down to the mat. Top of our right foot's down on the mat. And then pushing down into our left foot, we're going to sweep our hands up overhead. And then exhale, bringing them back down to the mat. And then we'll tuck our toe under, come back to runner's lunge. And then we'll pivot the back foot down. So your foot is on the mat, the ball of the foot and the heel of the foot. Pivot down. And we're going to come into a warrior one. So again, sweep your hands up off the mat. You could be facing toward the short end of your mat or to the corner of your mat. In this pose, we'll be doing all the warriors today. So this one's all about flexibility. So if you're angled to the corner, that's great. Or if you're facing forward, inviting a little bit more of a twist, that's great too. And then we'll sweep our hands back, bringing our chest forward, leaning over our left thigh with airplane arms. And then sweeping our hands back up. And then bring our hands all the way back down to the mat. We'll send our left foot back to join the right foot, coming into plank pose. Plank pose, our wrists are right below our shoulders, fingers are nice and spread out, gripping the mat. Navel's tucked to the spine, heels are pushing back. Now we're going to bring our knees to the mat, and then bring our chest to the mat, keeping our elbows tucked toward our ribs, and then bring our chin to the mat. So when I go from plank and say knees, chest, chin, this is what I mean. It's always an option for you. And then with our hands below our shoulders, we're going to lift up with our chest and our chin coming into cobra. Our hips are still on the mat. Tops of our feet are nice and firm in the mat. And then we're going to keep pushing up And bring our hips down to our ankles, coming into extended child's pose. And then come back up to tabletop, tuck our toes under, raise our hips up to the sky, coming into downward dog, and pedal out here for a moment. Fingers again are spread nice and apart, index finger pointing up to the top of the mat. Chest is reaching toward our thigh. And then we're going to lift our right leg up, three-legged dog, and then bring it down and bring it all the way in between your hands, coming into runner's lunge again. So then we're going to bring our left knee down to the mat, top of the left foot down to the mat, pushing down into our right foot. We'll lift our hands up to the sky, and then bring them back down again. Tuck our back toe under, coming back into runner's lunge, and then we'll pivot our back foot down, and we're going to come into warrior two. So sweeping your hands up, making a nice big opening with your arms, sending your arms out in each direction. Your knees right over your ankle. You can see the top of your big toe. Warrior two is all about strength. You just feel that strength, slowly guiding your head toward your right fingertips. Then we're going to send our right fingertips up, reverse or peaceful warrior. Our left hand comes down to our back thigh. And then bringing our hand back down into warrior two. We'll bring our right forearm to our right thigh, sweeping our left hand up. And if you like, over, so it's pointing to the front of the mat. Nice one straight line of energy. And then bring the left hand down to the mat, pivoting on your foot. We're going to come back to plank pose. And this time you can do the knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. So keeping your elbows tucked toward your ribs, slowly lowering to the mat. We'll send arms out alongside of us. Chin is resting on the mat. Backs of your hands are on the mat. And then we'll lift, keeping our hips parallel to the mat. We'll lift the right leg up and then lower it. Lift the left leg up and lower it. And then lift both legs and both arms up. Full locust. And then lower them back down. Bring our hands right below our shoulders again. Elbows tucked in. Lift our chest and our chin up. Coming into cobra. And listen to your Ujjayi breath here. Mine's a little shaky. Then I'm going to lift up and send my hips down to my heels, extend the child pose. And then I'm going to listen to my Ujjayi breath here. Nice and strong and steady. And then we'll come back up to tabletop, tuck our toes under, come into downward dog, pedal out here for a moment. Again, listening to my Ujjayi breath, checking in. And then I'm going to lift my right leg up back into three-legged dog, and then send that leg all the way to the front between my hands, coming into runner's lunge again. And then I'm going to bring my left foot to join the right foot. So I'm now in forward fold and slowly roll up. Bringing my hands up overhead, palms come together, palms come to heart center. I'm going to lift my right leg up. And I'm going to send it back of me, but I'm not going to touch down on the mat. I'm going to keep my left knee gently bent. And I'm going to come into warrior three. I'm going to send my arms out into airplane arms. Keep my breath nice and steady. And then come out of that. Well done. We'll do that on the other side. So sweeping our hands up overhead. And then exhale, bringing them down. Bending our knees as we go. Extending our left foot back. Bring our left knee down to the mat. Pushing into our right foot, we're going to sweep our hands up to the sky. Nice crescent shape. The low lunge. And then bring them back down to the mat. Tuck our back toes under, coming back to runner's lunge. Pivot our foot so that it comes down to the mat. Both toes and heel are on the mat. And then again, sweep our hands up, coming into warrior one. And then sweep our hands back, bring our torso over our right thigh. And then sweep our hands back up again. And then bring our hands all the way down to the mat. Bring our right foot back, joining the left foot, coming into plank. Then we'll drop our knees, drop our chest to the mat, keeping our elbows tucked, and then coming down with our chin. With our hands underneath our shoulders, elbows tucked to the side, we'll gently lift our chin and chest up, coming into cobra. And then pushing up to tabletop, and then down to child's extended pose. Inhale back up to tabletop. Tuck our toes under, lift our hips up to downward dog. We'll pedal out here for a moment. And then lift the left leg up to three-legged dog. And then send that left leg between our hands, guiding it between our hands, coming into runner's lunge. We'll bring the right knee back down to the mat. Top of the right foot comes down to the mat. Sweeping our hands up toward the sky. And then come back down to the mat. Tucking our toe back under, coming back to runner's lunge. I'm going to pivot the back foot down. And we'll come into warrior two. So sweeping our hands up and extending them out from the shoulders to each side. Just check your alignment here. Knee over ankle, Back foot nice and snug in the mat. Arms straight out. Gently turning your head to your left fingertips. We'll lift our left fingertips as we drop the right to our back thigh. Listen to your Ujjayi breath here. And then send your left forearm down to your left thigh, sweeping your right arm up and perhaps straight ahead. And then bringing your hand back down. Bringing your left foot to join your right foot. We'll lower down chaturanga, or knees, chest, chin to the mat. Bring your hands to the side, chin to the mat. Lifting the right leg up, keeping the hips parallel to the mat. Send it back down, lifting the left leg up and sending it back down. And then lifting both legs up and sending them back down. Bring your hands below your shoulders, elbows tucked to the side, lifting your chin and chest up, coming into cobra, and then to tabletop, and then to extended child's pose, lowering your hips to your ankles. And then lifting back up to tabletop, tucking your toes under, we'll come up into downward dog and pedal out here for a moment. And then lifting your left leg up again, three-legged dog. And bringing that left leg all the way between your hands, coming into runner's lunge. And then bringing your right foot up to meet your left foot, forward fold. Sweeping your hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center. Going into warrior three, we're gonna connect with our right foot in the mat, lifting our left leg up. And then pivot from the waist, sending our left leg back without touching the mat. And then coming into airplane arms. And then come down. Well done, everyone. We'll bring our pinky toes to the edges of the mat, tucking our heels in, hands in Anjali Mudra, lowering our hips to the mat, bringing our torso between our legs, elbows rest on the inner part of our knees, wide-legged squat. And then bringing our sit bones to the mat. We'll roll down whatever way you wish. Knees come to chest, give them a nice hug. We'll rock back and forth, give our lower back a massage. Maybe make big circles with our toes. Big full moon circles. And then the other way. And then we'll send our feet to the bottom of the mat. Sending our heels over to the corners, preparing for Shavasana. Just letting our body relax. And my story, just check in with that part of your body where you hold tension. And just be aware of that self-awareness. And see if you can tell your body to relax, to just let it go. Surrender yourself to the mat. Surrender yourself to relaxation. Using your Ujjayi exhale will really help you to do that. Today's poem that I have for you is titled The Guest House by Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.